Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shri Guru and Guranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 14, Text 10, Ideal Family Life. Jivargam nati krichena Vajeta vihamedyapi Yatha desham yatha kalam Yavat daivo papaditam Chant. Jivargam nati krichena Ladies? Jivargam nati krichena Three principles, namely religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Not. Atikrichena, by very severe endeavor. Vajeta, should execute. Grihameti, a person interested only in family life. Api, although. Yatha according to the place. Yatha kalam, according to the time. Yavat, as much as. Daiva, by the grace of the Lord. Upapaditam, obtained. Translation. Even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor according to place and time by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. Purport. In human life, there are 4 principles to be fulfilled: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. First, one should be religious, observing various rules and regulations. Then one should earn some money for maintenance of his family and satisfaction of his senses. The most important ceremony for sense gratification is marriage, because sexual intercourse is one of the principal necessities of the human body, material body. Although sexual intercourse is not a very exalted requisite in life, both animals and men require some sense gratification because of material propensities. One should be satisfied with married life and not expend energy for extra sense gratification or sex life. As for economic development, responsibility for this should be entrusted mainly to the Vaishyas and Grihastas. Human society should be divided into varnas and ashrams: Brahmana, Shakta, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Economic development is necessary for Grihastas. Brahmana Grihastas should be satisfied with a life of Adhyayan, Yajan, and Yajan, being learned scholars, teaching others to be scholars, learning how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and also teaching others how to worship Lord Vishnu or even the demigods. A Brahmana should do this without remuneration, but he is allowed to accept charity from a person whom he teaches how to be a human being. As for the Kshatriyas, they are supposed to be kings of the land, and the land should be distributed to the Vaishyas for agricultural activities, cow protection, and trade. Shudras must work. Sometimes they should engage in occupational duties as cloth manufacturers, weavers, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, brassmiths, and so on, or else they should engage in hard labor to produce food grains. These are the different occupational duties by which men should earn their livelihood, and in this way human society should be simple. At the present moment, however, everyone is engaged in technological advancement, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as ugra karma, extremely severe endeavor. This ugra karma is the cause of agitation within the human mind. Men are engaged in many sinful activities and becoming degraded by opening slaughterhouses, breweries, and cigarette factories, as well as nightclubs and other establishments for sense enjoyment. In this way, they are spoiling their lives. In all of these activities, of course, householders are involved. Therefore, it is advised here, with the use of the word api, that even though one is a householder, one should not engage himself in severe hardships. One's means of livelihood should be extremely simple. As for those who are not grihastas, the brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyasis, they don't have to do anything but strive for advancement in spiritual life. This means that 3/4 of the entire population should stop sense gratification and simply be engaged in advancement of Krishna consciousness. Only 1/4 of the population should be grihasta, and that should be according to laws of restricted sense gratification. The grihastas, vanaprasthas, brahmacharis, and sannyasis should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Daiva Varnashram. One of the objectives of the Krishna conscious movement is to establish this Daiva Varnashram, but not to encourage so-called Varnashram without scientifically organized endeavor by human society. Mukkam karoti vachalam bhangam mangyate girim yakandhamam vande Sri Gurum Jimitarinam Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmiritam Yena Tassamai Sri Gurave Namaha. Here it is explained that the grihastas should be satisfied. They should not endeavor very hard to make a living. Now, how can the grihastas be satisfied? What is the basis for satisfaction? The basis for satisfaction is love. If you feel love, then you'll be satisfied. Otherwise, you won't be satisfied. So the Varnashram system, as Prabhupada said here, one of the is to please Krishna. Here it is. 3/4 of the population should stop sense gratification, simply engaged in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. And all of them should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. In Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, Atapumbi Jashesta, Varnashrama Vibhagashat, Sansiddhir Haritoshna. The purpose of Varnashram is to please Krishna. So if you please Krishna, if you love Krishna, then automatically you will have culture of respect. You will love everyone. If you water the root of the tree, then everyone will be happy. So, Prabhupada explains 4 principles here of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. For Vaishyas, Grihastas, Artha, or economic development, is most important. And what this means is that the Grihastas must maintain the other 3 ashrams by giving charity. But actually, all 4 ashrams have to do charity. According to Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, Yagya Dana Tapa Karma, Natyajam Karyam Evitat, Yagya Danam Tapaschaiva Pavanani Manishinam, that sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. They purify even the great soul. So why should we give charity? Why is charity important? Because it purifies the heart. And this leads to advanced spiritual life, Prabhupada says in the purport of Bhagavad Gita. So everyone has something to give. The Brahmanas, Prabhupada says here, they should be satisfied with a life of adhyayana, adhyapan, yajan, yajan, learned scholars, teaching others to be scholars, worshipping the Lord and teaching others. So when Srila Prabhupada was here, we didn't have much Grihasta life. We were all living in the temple together. Grihastas, Vanaprasthas, Sannyasis, Brahmacharis, but we were all very satisfied. Why did we give up our Grihasta, our sense gratification, out of love for Srila Prabhupada? Because he loved us. We felt that love. We were willing to sacrifice. So similarly in the Varnashram, all the people, they'll be willing to sacrifice if they feel the love of the leaders, if they feel the love of the king. But not Ugra Karma. This will not help. Srila Prabhupada talked about factories. He said factory is another name for hell. And if anyone has worked in a factory, you will know what this means. One of my godbrothers, Jahari, was working in a factory. He told Prabhupada in a steel factory at night, and there's all this molten steel coming down. And he said, I had a nervous breakdown because I couldn't do it. So Prabhupada said, yes, because in your last life, all of you were Brahmanas, and now we're all here together again. And so, yes, we cannot do this Ugra Karma. It's not human, it's inhuman. And so, therefore, we should not do this heavy, hard labor to maintain ourselves. And also, another important point is that the Varnas and Ashrams are interdependent. I would like to go back to Canto 4. Prithu Maharaj, he was a perfect example of Varnashram, and he was instructing the citizens in Varnashram. He said, this is 4:21:25, my dear citizens, for the welfare of your king after his death, you should execute your duties properly in terms of your positions of Varna and Ashram, and should always think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your hearts. By doing so, you'll protect your own interests and you'll bestow mercy upon your king for his welfare after death. Now, who would care about what happens to the king after death? Especially nowadays, we probably would curse most of the politicians who are in control because they're exploiting us. But we can see in the actual Varnashram civilization, Dharma Varnashram, there was exchange of love between the king and the citizens. So the king was begging them, you please do your Varnashram, this will be good for me after my death, if you follow this Varnashram. So Prabhupada, he took out the most important thing, of course, is to be Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada said a responsible government must teach Krishna consciousness very vigorously for the benefit of all. Without Krishna consciousness, neither the state or citizens can be responsible. So, the Varnashram creation, it was part of the universal form of the Lord, and the head was the Brahmanas, the arms are the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas are the belly, and the Shudras are the legs. So the arms, everyone depends on the eyes and the brain of the Brahmanas. So the Kshatriyas would depend on the Brahmanas for vision. The Brahmanas would give vision to the rest of the society. So they would make the blessings, they would take instruction from the Brahmanas. If we are blind, if we cannot see, if someone attacks us, then what can we do? So we need the Kshatriyas to protect us, and the Brahmanas to guide us with the vision, and otherwise we go leading the blind into the ditch. So the king, if he simply exploits and he neglects the rest of the body, he and the others will suffer. Srila Prabhupada told a story about the hands were on strike. We don't want to feed the stomach, we're going to eat ourselves. We're going to eat the food ourselves. And they tried very hard, but then they started getting really weak, and they thought, maybe we should feed the stomach after all. So if we try to enjoy without Krishna consciousness, which even Varnashram, it will not be very helpful. So yesterday, Madhavananda Prabhu was explaining that Vedic culture can elevate even the smallest creature. It includes all the insects and animals. But not only that, the Vedic culture includes the rivers, the mountains, the hills. When Yudhishthira was king, then not only the citizens were part of the Vedic culture. There's a verse in 1st Canto, 10th chapter, the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Did you know that? They had to give taxes too. The oceans, everyone. And because there was a Krishna conscious king, they were very happy to do that. And I think the ecologists would appreciate this. That's very popular nowadays, ecology. But if you have a Krishna conscious king, then automatically it will be perfect and everything will be coming automatically. And the king would distribute. He would take all these things and he would distribute it equally to everyone. And so that's why everyone loved the king. And Srila Prabhupada explained that because the ocean, the rivers, the trees, they're all part of the universal form, they all have a service to do for Krishna. And he said even the weeds, we don't know their purpose, their service, but because we don't know, that doesn't mean they don't have a service or a purpose. Every seed, every blade of grass has a service. And when there's a Krishna conscious king, they will all be in harmony. Prabhupada gave the example of the river. The river, its purpose is to supply water all year round, so we can drink. So he said during the rainy season, the water is, in summer it's evaporated, in the rainy season it goes on the top of a hill, and it's stocked up there in the mountains, and then it comes down, so we can take advantage of it. So in India, the way we keep our water is we have a tank on the top of the house, and we pump up the water, and then it comes down. It's very similar to nature. The tank is the top of the mountain, and then it's supposed to come down. Now, unfortunately, because of Ugra karma, the rivers are polluted, and we can't even swim in them, what to speak of drink them. So all these varnas, all the ashrams, they had service, and they would appreciate each other and have a culture of respect, because they saw each other as servants of Krishna. In different ways, we can see, Prabhupada gave examples, that they were respected as sometimes Panditji, Pandit Maharaj, the Kshatriyas as Thakur, also sometimes Maharaj, and the merchant as Sethji, and the Shudra as Chaudhary, which means leader, Jai Panch Tattva. So if you study the scriptures, you will see how, if a Kshatriya meets a Brahmana, how would he greet that Brahmana? So Maharaj Dasharath, the father of Lord Ram, he received Vishwamitra, and he said to Vishwamitra, Ahistam yatta punar janma jayaya. How are you doing in your endeavor to conquer the repetition of birth and death? Because Brahmanas, they want to get out of this world, they want spiritual advancement. So that was the question he asked to Vishwamitra. And Srila Prabhupada in a lecture, he said that the Brahmana doesn't go to construct his big house, he simply constructs his character. So that is what you look for in the Brahmana. You don't look, what he's doing. You look at his character. And the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, they say, please, come, sit here. Sit in this house. You can sit here in this house. Then Prabhupada said in this lecture, this was actually a room conversation in Mauritius, he said, and if he can't be a Brahman, let him become Kshatriya. And if he can't be a Kshatriya, let him be a Vaishya. Otherwise, let him remain Shudra. There should be an ideal class. And we are trying to create an ideal society of brahmanas. And that's why he put us all together in the temple. We were all living together. And he expected all of us to be brahmanas. So that was our training in the early days. Now, suppose you're meeting a kshatriya. How would you greet a kshatriya? That's given in 6th canto, chapter 14, verse 7. Angira Muni was meeting Chitraketu, and he was saying, I hope your body and mind is good, and your royal associates and paraphernalia, and your guru, a king, is protected by 7 elements, your guru, your ministers, your kingdom, your fort, your treasury, your royal order, and your friends. So when you meet a kshatriya, you should ask, well, how's your kingdom? How's your treasury doing? Kind of things. So then if you meet a Vaishya, of course nowadays it would be how's business, and but there is an example of Vasudeva, a kshatriya, meeting Nanda Maharaj, a Vaishya. When he met him, when Nanda Maharaj went to Mathura to pay taxes, he met with Vasudeva, his friend. So Vasudeva said, please tell me about the welfare of Vrindavan. You have so many animals. Are your animals happy? Are they getting enough grass and water? And let me know whether the place where you're living is undisturbed and peaceful. And so the importance, he asked about the cows. How are your cows? How are they doing? Are they happy? Are you peaceful? And it was his duty to give protection to the Vaishyas. And Prabhupada points out in the purport that cows are as important as the citizens. So that's why he asked, how is your cows? Now if you meet the Shudra, what should you say? I guess nowadays it's just, how are you? Because you is the most important thing. And you can mean many things, but usually the answer is, yeah, well, you know, I got fever last night. And so you means the body generally, but it can also mean, how's your mind, or things like that. There was mutual respect. The Shudras, their center is kama, or sense gratification. So if you get a Shudra on top of the government, then he will say, okay, like I remember there was a president in the 50s when I was a student in America. And he was saying, yes, if I become president, I will give a chicken in every pot and 2 cars in every garage. So that was his sense kama, sense gratification. If you get a Vaishya on the top, then okay, we will have a lot of economic development. If you get a Kshatriya, then justice, righteousness, dharma will be there. Of course, nowadays it will, who knows, we will win the war against all these other countries. And if you get a Brahmin on the top, then you will have spirituality. Spiritual advancement will be the goal. So this is the Varnashram, of course, the Brahmanas were on top and the Kshatriyas would take advice from them. The Srila Prabhupada, we had our Pradumna, he was respected by Prabhupada with the title Panditji. Panditji, you are a great Pandit, because he was Prabhupada's Sanskrit scholar. So Sridhar tells a story that when he was first with Prabhupada, sometimes he would ring his bell, and when Sridhar came in the room, he would ask, where is Panditji? This was a very affectionate term. After several months, his Sanskrit editor is not always readily available, so Srila Prabhupada would then call me to his room and ask, where is Banditji? He changed Pandit to Bandit. Prabhupada, but he gave respect. He gave respect also even to us somehow. So, how do we greet a devotee? If we meet a devotee, what should we say? We should say, how are you? Or how is your japa? Or how are your deities? Or how is your book distribution? Actually, recently I was talking with one disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, and she was telling, yeah, he asked me, how am I? And I was telling him all my troubles, and he said, no, I mean, how's your preaching? So that was what he was telling her, how's your preaching? And that's a lot of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj's disciples have that same question. They ask their guru something, he'll say, how's your preaching? Okay. Anyway, so this is, we greet devotees in different ways with respect. But everyone is needed. The Shudras are needed, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and we all depend upon one another. We need the arms, we need the mouth, we need everything. So this is Daiva Varnashram. Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, this type of civilization is Daiva Varnashram, that everybody together tries to become Krishna conscious. So I'll just tell you briefly, I have a chart here, which I got from Bhakti magazine. And it talks about 3 kinds of Varnashram, dharma. There is the Daiva Varnashram, there is the Asuric, the materialistic, and there is spontaneous. So Daiva Varnashram has a different goal than the others, to allow members to please the Supreme Lord, cooperate, help each other advance. The Asuric, the demonic Varnashram, they want to organize society, promote social prestige, and help people advance to higher planets. That's in the old days. Spontaneous Varnashram is to preserve the order and material comfort of the higher classes. Spontaneous means that what we see in society nowadays around the world, that they want the higher classes to actually develop. And what is the basis of the Varna? In the spontaneous, it's your money and perhaps your family, if you're born in an aristocratic family who owns banks, who owns different things. And the Asuric Varnashram, the basis was your birth. Again, what is your birth? And the Daiva Varnashram is your character, your qualities, your training, and your work. That's how they would determine which Varna you belong to. And the highest position in the Daiva Varnashram was the Brahmana, or the self-realized soul, actually. It was not even the Brahmana. Above the Brahmanas were the self-realized souls. And the materialistic Varnashram, it was the Brahmanas. And the spontaneous Varnashram, it's the rich and the famous. They are the top people in the world today. And the Varna is eligible for the highest position. In the spontaneous, basically, it was the rich and famous. In the materialistic, the Brahmanas only. And in the Daiva, everyone can go to the highest position. So that's why we want Daiva Varnashram. So, when I first came to India, the caste Brahmanas were criticizing Srila Prabhupada that, how you make these mlechas into Brahmanas. And we were in Vrindavan, and some of the Brahmanas said to us, wow, you're doing such a nice puja. Next life, you can be born in a Brahmin family, for sure. We told Prabhupada, and he said, okay, you tell them, wow, you're doing such a nice puja. Next life, you can be born in ISKCON. Prabhupada was very, anyway, he was very direct. The problem in India is that the Brahmanas were keeping other people down. They didn't want them to come up. But Prabhupada, he changed all that, and he allowed everyone to be advanced, to become a Brahmin. When I was in Goa, I lived in Goa for 5 years in the village, I used to drive a moped, and the one who serviced my moped was a Brahmana. He had a Brahmin thread, but he was covered head to foot in grease. And people were saying, oh, Panditji. I said, yeah, oh, Panditji, can you fix my bike? So this is happening. This Asuric Varnashram, you can see in India nowadays, that this is not qualified to be a Brahmin. And I do believe that at 12 o'clock noon he would take a bath and do some puja and go back to his fixing the bikes the whole day. But anyway, this is going on, and Prabhupada did not accept this. And so the duty of the king is to hold up the dharma. So dharma is for the king, for the Vaishya Artha, or economic development, for the Shudra Kama. So what is dharma? It's described that in the beginning of creation there's 4 pillars of dharma. Cleanliness, mercy, austerity, and truthfulness. And Lord Brahma, he created the 4 ashrams to uphold the 4 pillars of religion. This is from Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse 41. And instead of cleanliness, there was here education. Education, charity instead of mercy, penance, and truth are the 4 legs of religion. They correspond to brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So brahmachari life is meant for education, and according to first canto, cleanliness, so these 2. And the grihastha is for sense gratification with a charitable disposition. So first canto says daya, here it says dana, charity. The purpose of grihastha life is to uphold the pillar of mercy or charity, daya or dana. Vanaprastha is for austerity, and sannyas is for the truth, satya. Absolute truth. The sannyasis must give the truth to the people, fearlessness. So Prabhupada wanted Daya Varnashram. And how do you know where you belong? Of course, you study Bhagavad Gita, guna karma, according to your guna and your karma. You can find out. And anyone can be elevated. It's not according to birth. Even in previous times, people who were from lower classes were accepted as Brahmins. There's the story of Gautam Muni, when from Jabal Upanishad, somebody came for instruction. So the Muni said, "Who's your father?" He says, "I don't know." He said, "Go ask your mother." He asked his mother. Mother said, "I don't know. Who's your father?" Because she was a prostitute. And he went back and he told Gautam Muni, "My mother says she doesn't know who is my father." He said, "Okay, you're a Brahmin, because you're telling the truth. You didn't try to hide this from me. So I accept you as a disciple." Now, satya, truthfulness, it is the quality. Even in the very ancient times, this was accepted. But nowadays, it's a little problem. In Paris, even the professors in the West, there is one professor in Paris, 73, Prabhupada said, "We are creating Brahmins in the Western countries." And the professor said, "Don't you think that is against the Dharma Shastras?" And Prabhupada said, "No," and he quoted this, "Chaturvanya mayashistam guna karma vibhagashaha." It's according to your quality, your guna, and your work. If the symptoms of a Brahman are found in a Shudra, he should be accepted as a Brahmana. And so he said, everyone's sleeping, everyone is Kalo, Shudra, Sambhala, everybody is Shudra in this age of Kali. They're sleeping like cats and dogs, thinking they're this body. So we're raising them to spiritual consciousness. We're telling them, you're not cats and dogs. You are Brahman. Even in Lord Chaitanya's time, there were complaints against, he said, because they were saying, he is letting everyone hear this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and if everyone hears it, the potency of the mantra will be lost. That was the complaint against Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what did he do? Lord Chaitanya made the Namacharya Haridas Thakur. And the Acharya of the holy name was born in a Muslim family. And he had Ramananda Roy, Grihastha, born in a low family. He was asking questions to him. He was asking Ramananda Roy. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada said that dissolves our subtle body. This is the complaint of the Brahmanas. You have to change your body before you become a Brahmin. But when you get initiated, when you chant Hare Krishna, it dissolves your subtle body. This is explained in the Purport 5.135, that we don't know how we're changing our body, but when we chant Hare Krishna, we're changing our body. Once in LA, Srila Kirti said, Prabhupada said, if it's not for the chanting of Maha Mantra, you boys and girls could not do anything. In the West, you've used so many drugs, you can't accomplish anything. Chanting Hare Krishna has enabled you to get all these temples and devotees. Simply Krishna's mercy and the chanting. So that's all we did. When we joined 10 hours a day, we were on Harinam, chanting Hare Krishna. And that's how we got everything. So we should understand that everybody's important. The hand is important, the leg is important, the pujari, the book distributor, the cooks, and everyone has something to give for Krishna's pleasure. Sometimes there were fights in ISKCON, no, book distribution is more important, everybody should lock the temple and go out, and different things were happening. But actually, Srila Prabhupada, he was always appreciating everyone's service, even if you're a pujari, even if you're a book distributor, even if you're a cook, even if you just clean the temple, he said it's equal to the pujari who's doing the puja. So the challenge of our life is, what can we do to please Krishna? How can we use our gift, whatever Krishna has given us? As again, I will quote this verse, Pranarartha Tyavacha, Shreya Acharanam Sada, that with our life, with our money, artha, with our intelligence, with our words, we should give to Krishna. So prana, again, Prabhupada said, give your life. If you can't give your life, artha, give money. If you can't give money, dhya, intelligence. If you can't give intelligence, then vacha, You chant Hare Krishna, or you tell someone to chant. So this is Prabhupada's mercy. 1966, Prabhupada gave a lecture in front of all the hippies who just came out of the who knows where, and he told them, you must become guru. Lord Chaitanya says nobody is responsible for his birth. His responsibility is to advance in Krishna consciousness. If we want to enter the kingdom of God, there's no impediment. If we want to be Krishna conscious, it is open for everyone. And then he said a very interesting thing to all these hippies. The chance is given, you can become a brahmana. You can become a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And you can become spiritual master of the whole world. So that was Prabhupada's blessings to us. So we should all take up his instructions and try to be a great devotee of Lord Krishna. We try to help others. Whoever we meet, tell them the message of Krishna. And we will please Srila Prabhupada and we will please Krishna. Jai Hare Krishna. If there's any comments, Madhavananda.
Thank you for such a delightful and satisfying presentation. I just have a small comment.
Good.
Thank you for such a delightful and satisfying presentation. Just a small comment. In one purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in Chaitanya Bhagavata speaks about this system of greeting Vaishnavas.
Yes.
And he's really heavy. He says, you do not greet a Vaishnava and ask them, how are you? He says, we should say, Bhajan Koshal.
Bhajan?
Koshal. How is your bhajan?
How is your bhajan? How is your bhajan? Yes.
I'm not exactly sure how to postulate this question, so you'll have to forgive me. Prabhupada wanted to create a society of Brahmins, yet water seeks its own level, so
Exactly.
eventually everybody will fit wherever they belong. Yet this may be a little discouraging to those who want to apply themselves in a Brahminical society because they may lack inspiration, being probably the smallest of all the four varnas. Probably the Brahmins are the smallest as far as magnitude and as a group. So how, even nowadays, it's hard to approach another Vaishnava and say, so how are your rounds? You know, how are your rounds? They actually, I found that they become upset when you ask them. How are your rounds?
You're challenging me.
How dare you? When you see
I think something's wrong with him.
Someone show up with a newly starched bead bag and counter beads, so you can tell they haven't been chanted ever. So how do you, at the same time, encourage people to be Brahmins? And because nowadays you can go to any Sunday feast or any gathering of Vaishnavas, and usually the topics end up in business, like, you know, how's your business, how are you doing, are you making money, you know, you have a new car, etc., etc. So how do we establish that? I'm asking actually for practical advice. How do you encourage others to apply themselves to be Brahmins, even if they're not exactly suited for, you know?
Are you saying that how do we encourage the Vaishnavas to be Brahmins? I think it's not a matter of becoming Brahmins, it's a matter of becoming Vaishnavas, which includes everyone. Brahmins is kind of like, as you say, a small category. So Vaishnavas, so Prabhupada was very expert in that. And he would take the person, whatever his ability and his interest was, and he would connect it with Krishna. So somehow that is the challenge, that we have to be able to greet them and say, well, you know, how is your business doing, and how are you how is your, anyway, yeah, how are you helping, how is your business pleasing Krishna? I guess that would be too direct, but somehow connected to Krishna.
Well, I'm glad I precluded my opening saying that I'm not sure how to postulate the question. I was actually applying this question to Brahman Vaishnava, not just a Brahman. But you have to see that some of the qualities, like being clean and punctual and studious and honest, etc., are qualities of a Vaishnava. So what I'm asking from you is how, besides giving a good example, which is above my pay grade, how can you encourage others to apply themselves and becoming more Brahminical in their Vaishnava development?
Yeah, well, first is example. But then when you were just now speaking, I was thinking you could ask them for advice. You know, oh wow, you're so expert in making money. I would also like to make some money because I need to print these books. I need to do something for Krishna. You know, you can say, you can bring them that way, in that direction. Say, oh, how can I do this? Can you give me some advice? How can I make money because for printing books for this? And you get their advice on how to do that. And there was one person who came recently to one temple where I visited, and the temple wanted advice in fundraising. And so here was a person who was expert. And so, therefore, he was able to come and he was able to use his expertise in helping the temple to raise funds. So what I would do is try to somehow engage them in Krishna conscious things, even if it can't be direct. Because, you know, there's, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, always think of me. If you can't do that, follow the regulative principles. If you can't do that, help the devotees. Do something to help. So we see which level everybody's at, and then see how they can be engaged in Krishna service, and then we try to address them in that way, with that view. But giving all respect, like they're an authority in their field. And then we can, you know, and even, you know, the sage, he went to the king, his kingdom, he didn't try to be Krishna conscious with him. Angira went to Chitrageda, he said, you know, how's your body, how's your, you know, you don't look very happy, is something wrong, you know, is your kingdom okay? And he gave all the list of the things. He didn't say, you're chanting the rounds, or and Vasudeva said to Nanda, how's your cows, you know? So we can take these examples from Bhagavatam, but they, you know, we don't. Yes, then we have to respect whatever level they're on and engage them at that level. That's what I can say. You can't say, well, you know, you should be a Brahmin, Prabhu, like me. I mean, then they won't be happy like that. That's all I can say. Otherwise, you can just remind them of Srila Prabhupada. If they're Prabhupada disciples, then you can say, remember when, you know, remind them of the wonderful service they did when Prabhupada was here. How they were chanting, how they were... Remember those times when we were getting up at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning chanting all around, so we would go out and distribute books and then get them into that frame of mind. Because just remembering, that helps you to get back into that. Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that, you know, try again and try to... You know, I know some people, they used to do book distribution, and then they all, you know, started to go out and do it, you know, just for a week or so, weekend. And it was just like old times, and they were getting very enthusiastic. So that's just an idea that came to my head. Yes?
Isn't it also a little bit of a question of etiquette?
Yeah.
That the senior one is meant to affectionately reach out to the younger ones and uplift.
Exactly.
And if we don't have that adhikar, it's kind of a little against, you know, the etiquette to come as a junior and less, you know, advanced devotee and try to uplift here the senior one or something.
Were you thinking like that with seniors, or was it more like equals?
Anybody.
Okay.
Anyone who has actually followed the process and now they're a little...
Yeah, and they've left.
Forgetful.
I think the best thing for like Prabhupada disciples, remind them of what they were doing for Prabhupada. Remember those days, yeah. And then get them in that mood, and well, wouldn't it be nice to feel that again, like kind of thing. You have to be respectful. Any other question? Yes, first. She and then you.
Thank you so much. I have a question about the truthfulness.
Truthfulness.
Yes, because we are not living in the society which is very useful and good.
Are you saying truthfulness or
truthfulness?
Truthfulness.
Yes. What is the border for this? Because sometimes if you are too truthful, it's not beneficial for your spiritual life. So you have to something. What is the solution?
Well, this here in this verse it says desha kala, according to time and place. So in Bhagavad Gita it's described that you don't want to, you speak words that are pleasing to others, you don't want to disturb others. there was an example in the early days of somebody, one devotee, he wrote an article for Back to Godhead criticizing Vallabhacharya, because it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But then, Prabhupada's patron, Sumati Maharaji got upset because she's following Vallabhacharya. And she gave Prabhupada the free boat ride to America. And so Prabhupada, he balanced it. He said, yes, we should speak the truth, but it should be according to time, place, and circumstance. That you don't want to offend others by speaking the truth, but you have to do it in such a way that they speak it themselves, without you being the master or the guru. That it can be, you can ask them advice about it, and let them understand what is the truth. Okay, yes?
No, it is just a short comment. I wanted to thank you very much because you speak a lot about Varnashram, and then different devotees approach it from different angles. That yes, we have to stop buying milk in the shop, that will make Varnashram, and the women will have to stop doing active service, that will make Varnashram, and so many things. But your point that it comes when the superiors have love, I think that was such an important point. I just wanted to say it one more time, and thank you very much.
Okay, yes, Mananand.
Just one last comment, if I can. This question keeps coming up again and again. How do we know which Varna and ashram we're in? And Bhaktivinoda addresses this in his commentary on Sikshashtaka, in the first verse. He says that the first result of chanting the holy name, when you clean the mirror is really dirty, you can't see your face in it, but when you start cleaning it, the first thing you can see some vague thing in it. And he said that's our position in Varnashram. And that comes by chanting the holy name.
Interesting. The first thing we see is what position we're in. And we chant Hare Krishna. Thank you for that. So everybody should chant very nicely. And then you'll find it. Actually, whenever devotees would ask Prabhupada a question, many times artists, I have examples, artists would ask, and different ones probably would say, just chant Hare Krishna, and the answer will come. He wasn't the kind of a manager that would give a lot of details. He would encourage us to use our own creative intelligence, which is coming from Super Soul in the heart. And the way we get that is by chanting Hare Krishna. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, you tap into the reservoir of intelligence, which is Super Soul. If you chant attentively, then it's very nice. Okay, any other comments, questions? All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.